I was a professor of entomology at the university for my career. And unlike most of my colleagues, I did not have a specific commodity responsibility. You know, we had a cotton entomologist, a corn entomologist, and I was the coordinator for pesticide education programs, which was kind of nebulous. And so they asked me if I would accept, call some clients that did not fit into any other categories. And I said, of course I would do that. And I should have known from one of the first calls what I was getting into, because the person called and said, I saw a snake. And I said something like, do tell. And I wondered, why did you call extension? Why did you call an entomologist? And anyway, the gist came around and they said, well, when can somebody come get it? And I sat there for a moment and I said, you're not from around here. And it turned out that they had grown up in some city up in the Northeast, and they had moved to a rural area in Georgia. And I said, well, be ready for some more surprises. Now, to help people, get acquainted with the insects and other creepy crawlies, I had various specimens, and I had a tarantula in my office that I kept in a little glass cage. And someone came by and they wanted to have a better look at the spider, and they didn't close the top down. And so when I come back to the office, the tarantula is gone. And I looked around a little bit, but I was in the middle of a big project that called for about 100 boxes in my office. So I thought looking was probably futile. But I was left with a moral quandary. Should I tell my colleagues that there's a tarantula on the loose? And I decided that I did have to tell them. And for the next few days, a number of people sat at their desk with their feet up in their chairs. But after a week or so, we kind of forgot about it. And after a couple of weeks, I assumed that the spider was dead. But another week passed, and the night crew discovered this spider, and it had escaped from my office and made it out into the wide hallway. And I commended the night crew for not just killing it with one of those big giant brooms that they have, but they were afraid of the spider. And so, what do you do when you're afraid? Well, you call the police. And the police came over, 2 police officers with guns, and they're also afraid of this spider. And so they called my department head at home in the middle of the night. And the department head said, no, I'm not coming up to the department to take care of this spider. Just put a trash can over the top of it and we'll take care of it tomorrow. Now you have to envision the scene. Now there are 2 police officers. There's the whole night crew. There's everybody that had been contacted by telephone. It's probably like 30 people standing around. But one of the police officers finally got up the courage to put the trash can over the top of the spider. And we came to work the next morning. There is a can upside down, and there are all these arrows and text on the walls. It's a big giant spider. Do not move can. And I was able to get my spider back, put her back in the tank. She lived for a good long time. She never said where she went or what she did, but that's the way spiders are. I also bought this big giant tank, big fish tank, about so big, and had a friend design a cartoon chicken, not a chicken, a cartoon kitchen to go inside of it. It comprised a woman standing up on a chair holding a baby screaming. Had a dog trying to scratch its way back out of the kitchen. And I would put something like 100 Madagascar hissing cockroaches inside it. And I would take it to public events, to attract attention and to start, discussions about insects. And I took it down to something called the Ag Expo, which is a big deal down in South Georgia. And I found that people fell into 3 categories. Kids were eager to touch an insect or even hold it. And then teenagers traveled in packs. And there would be one person that would be interested in holding a roach, but usually, to scare their colleagues or express their friends. And then you got the grown-ups, and it was no way, no how. And most of these grown-ups, I figured, were parents, and they had been pooped on, puked on, peed on, seen everything that a gross little child can do, and they were still upset by a roach. One guy came in to the counter and to the exhibit. He's a big guy, big farmer, at least twice as big as I am. And he was willing to hold a roach. But when I put the roach into his palm, I was holding him gently by the wrist, and I could feel his wrist trembling. And so I thought to myself, I said, you could probably beat up me and my whole family. And I said, I could take this roach, and I could chase you out of this building. And the final part of this little story is a thing that I felt, gave my job meaning. A lady called me, and she said, if you tell me you don't believe me, I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I knew immediately that she was going to tell me something that I could not possibly believe. And I said, that's not the way we do things at the university. Tell me and I'll try to help you. And she believed that there was some kind of a bug in her house, that it would take on the appearance of anything it's close to. If it's close to a stick, it would look like a stick. If it was next to a stone, it would look like a stone. And the thing that occurred to me, I didn't say this out loud, but I said, what if you put it up next to a $10 bill? But I had sympathy for her because she really believed this. And she thought these things could get into food cans and lived inside the toilet paper. But I knew that this was not an entomological problem. And I did not think I had the expertise to help her. And I thought for a moment, and I said, I need to talk to your doctor. Yeah. And she said, oh, my doctor doesn't know anything about this. And I said, but your doctor knows things about medicine that I don't know. And I know things about insects that he does not know. And so she gave me the doctor's phone number, and I called him, and we talked for a little bit. And I didn't hear anything else for a number of weeks. And finally, I got a little note from this woman, and she said that she was well. Oh. And she didn't say, what the doctors did or what happened, but she said, I realized, when I was talking to you, that you probably thought I was kind of crazy. And she said, I appreciate your understanding. Mm. And she said, the only problem has been that I seem to have lost half my money.